You ever watch a crime show and think, yeah, I could do that? Well, the reality of handling evidence is way more intense than Hollywood makes it seem. Seriously, one wrong move, just one, and an entire case can completely fall apart. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the real-world procedures that make or break an investigation.
Okay, so picture this. You're deep into a data breach investigation. You're at a workstation, and you found the suspect's computer. And then you see it, a small, dark stain on the keyboard. It looks like blood. Just as you're trying to process what you're seeing, your IT manager, who's just trying to be helpful, reaches out to grab the keyboard. What do you do in that split second? What's the play?
The only correct answer? You yell, stop. You tell him to freeze, right there. Because in the world of evidence, that one simple, well-intentioned touch could literally shatter the integrity of what might be your most important piece of proof. From this exact moment forward, every single thing you do matters. So, let's do this. Let's follow this bloody keyboard on its journey. By tracking this one single piece of evidence, we're going to see how all those abstract rules about collecting and preserving proof play out in a real, high-stakes situation.
You know, the goal here is actually super simple, but it's also completely non-negotiable. It's all about one thing: protecting the integrity of the evidence. Why? Because if that proof can't be admitted in court, it's basically worthless. It might as well not exist.
So before we can even think about properly handling our keyboard, we've got to understand what it actually is in the eyes of the law. Evidence isn't just one thing. It actually falls into 4 very distinct categories.
All right, first up, you've got real evidence. This is the physical stuff, the things you can actually hold in your hand and look at. Our bloody keyboard? That's a perfect example. As one of our sources puts it, this kind of evidence usually speaks for itself.
Next, we have documentary evidence. This is pretty much any kind of writing or record. So in our scenario, the server logs you were looking at for that data breach, that's documentary evidence. But here's a really interesting legal wrinkle called the best evidence rule. Basically, it means the original document is always considered better than a copy, a tiny detail that can literally win or lose a case. Then there's testimonial evidence. This is what you see in all the courtroom dramas, right? A witness on the stand, pointing a finger, saying, I saw him do it. But here's the catch. Human memory is, well, it's notoriously unreliable. And that's exactly why a solid piece of physical proof, like our keyboard, can be so much more powerful.
And finally, we have demonstrative evidence. Think of this as the show and tell of the courtroom. These are the maps, the diagrams, the 3D models. They don't prove anything on their own, but they're absolutely essential for helping a jury understand how all the other pieces of evidence, like where exactly that keyboard was found, fit together.
Okay, this brings us to one last really crucial distinction: direct versus circumstantial evidence. Direct evidence is a slam dunk. It proves a fact all by itself. No questions asked. Think of a security camera video showing a theft. Circumstantial evidence, though, that's where you got to connect the dots. The blood on our keyboard doesn't prove who got hurt or why, but it strongly suggests something violent happened right there. The truth is, most cases are built on a whole mountain of circumstantial evidence. All right, now we're getting to the absolute heart of it, the single most important concept in all of this. This is the one rule that, if you break it, makes every single piece of evidence we just talked about completely useless. We're talking about the chain of custody. So what is the chain of custody? Well, think of it like the evidence's diary. It's the life story of that item, written down. It's a chronological paper trail of every single person who handled it, controlled it, or even had access to it, from the second it was found to the moment it's shown in a courtroom. So how do you actually maintain this unbreakable chain? It really comes down to these 4 critical steps. 1, you identify it right there on the scene, your initials, the date, the time. 2, you secure it in a special bag that shows if it's been tampered with. 3, you record every single handoff in a log, every time. And 4, you store it somewhere secure and locked down. No exceptions, no shortcuts, ever. And why is this so important? Because if you fail, if there's any gap in that chain, a good defense attorney will tear your whole case apart with one simple, devastating question like this. If you can't account for every single second, they will create reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury. A question like that is an absolute case killer. Okay, so let's imagine you did everything right. Your chain of custody is perfect. It's a work of art. But our bloody keyboard still isn't guaranteed a spot in the courtroom. You're not out of the woods yet.
It has to pass 3 final tests before a judge will even allow a jury to see it. And here they are. Think of them like gatekeepers to the courtroom. First, is it relevant? Does it actually have anything to do with the case at hand? Second, is it material? Okay, it's relevant, but is the fact it proves actually important to the case's outcome? And finally, is it competent? Was it collected legally, and is it reliable? That last one, competence, that's where your perfect chain of custody becomes your star witness. So let's actually look at the paperwork. This is the document that makes this whole thing possible. We're going to break down the anatomy of a custody log. This is the paper trail, the backbone of that unbreakable chain. 2 hours. It doesn't sound like a lot of time, does it? But in the world of evidence, an unaccounted for gap of just 2 hours is a fatal flaw. It's not a crack in your case, it's a giant canyon. It's basically an open invitation for a defense attorney to argue that the evidence was messed with, contaminated, or even swapped out. Now this is what a perfect log looks like. Look at it. Notice how every single transfer is totally buttoned up. You've got the date, the exact time, who signed it out, who signed it in, and exactly why it was being moved. There are no gaps. From investigator Doe over to the forensics expert Smith and right back to the secure locker. This right here is an unbreakable chain. So let's bring it all the way back to the beginning. We're back at that desk, the bloody keyboard is right there, and your IT manager is still reaching for it. But now you know what you know. So what's the right move? The correct action, the only action, is to physically and, politely stop them. And the reasons why are simple, based on everything we just talked about. Number 1, safety. Blood is a biohazard, period. Number 2, chain of custody. An undocumented touch breaks that chain in a heartbeat. And number 3, procedure. You photograph it, you bag it, and you log it before it moves a single inch. You, my friend, have just saved the evidence. The whole point here is that handling evidence isn't just about bagging and tagging. It's about meticulously creating an airtight story for that piece of evidence. A story that can stand up to any challenge. So the next time you see some critical piece of evidence on the news or in your favorite crime drama, I hope a new question pops into your head. Sure, that looks bad, but was the chain broken?